Oi, Savaloys! What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the West Ham Network. It's Anton. I'm live. It's a daily. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm on my lunch, and I thought, do you know what? It's been a while since I've come on and done a little cheeky afternoon show for you, a live one. So I'm here bringing to you a cheeky West Ham daily. So how are you? You okay? Put your comments in. Let me know how you're feeling about Europa League. You know, West Ham are bouncing off of a very good start to the season, and I personally am buzzing about the season. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Me personally, I see the positives. One of our best starts in many years, 13 points in the Premier League. And we've got a massive game against SC Freiburg of Germany in the Bundesliga. And it's a massive game, to be honest with you. It's a huge game because, you know, 2 games in, and if you can walk away with 6 points and sit top of that little cheeky league that we're in, then you have got a better trajectory moving forward because you can then get the advance on everyone else. And it's really important that we try and do something in this game. And the whole point of this show today is about how David Moyes has loads of big decisions to make, because he certainly does have loads of big decisions to make. They're definitely coming his way with an abundance, 100%. And there's, you know, big fixtures coming up at the weekend and loads of updates for you. Make sure you do join us for the Hammers Headlines later on as well. We'll have loads of matchday content for you. You know, listen, the situation is with regards to the game on Thursday, no away fans are allowed in the stadium. But there's probably some people getting in somehow and other ways. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So just keep your eye on the channel because you may be getting some content brought your way live from inside the stadium. I never said anything. Don't shoot the messenger. But we'll try and bring to you as much as we possibly can. But there are several big decisions to get through. But let me jump into the comments, see what everyone else is saying before we get really particularly into the show. Michael Blaze is in the house. Oi, oi, afternoon all. Oi, oi, Savaloy. How you doing, Michael? You well? Afternoon, Anton. Looking forward to the game on Thursday. I am really looking forward to the game on Thursday. You know, this is what you build up for. This is what you have in your bones. This is why you want West Ham to win games and win the competitions and push far up the league. And you hear me there, like winning competitions, like we're having these conversations 3 years in a row, qualified for Europe. And again, later on, join me for the Hammers Headlines because I'll talk to you about some of the changes potentially coming to Europe and what that could mean for teams like West Ham moving forward. And because we, you know, it's tough to qualify for the highest competition in Europe, then there are potential changes coming our way and it could be in play for 2027, which could have a knock-on effect for West Ham. But I'm not going to talk to you about that now. We'll leave that for a later date. But there are lots of updates in terms of Freiburg and also decisions that David Moyes has to make. So let me get into the show essentially as we go along. So Freiburg are picking up form at a useful time for them, but not necessarily a useful time for West Ham. Now, they did run away 2-0 winners over Augsburg this Sunday in their 3rd match in a row, unbeaten, which I suppose is pleasing for their manager, Christian Streich. He saw them probably, and this is probably the biggest thing for them, claim their 2nd consecutive clean sheet in a row. Now, the Europa League is a challenge. The side from Germany, sunny southwest, absolutely relish having topped their group, unbeaten last season, and started the current campaign with a thrilling 3-2 win versus Olympiacos. Vincenzo Grifo netted a penalty in the victory in Greece, just as he did in the Bundesliga at the weekend, and they need as many of their squad available as possible for the Europa League challenge, and their injury list is relatively short at present. Christian Gunter and Daniel Coffey Chieri remain long-term absentees for them right now. But 2 players, a couple of players, Michael Gregortic returned from a calf problem as a late substitute against Augsburg. But Yannick Kittel, who's a key element for them, did hobble off after 20 minutes of that encounter. So it looks like they were potentially thinking they were going to struggle, but his defensive midfield place is likely to be filled from another player called Nicholas Hofler, who was serving a suspension, but is eligible for League contention, but they didn't struggle without him necessarily in the league themselves. When it comes to West Ham, you've got David Moyes, who's got big decisions to make, huge decisions to make in a West Ham shirt, especially, moving into the Europa League and the next run of games. We've got players on form. One of the first players to talk about on form is Tommy Souček. I mean, he has been questionably, in my opinion, one of the players that an early contender for Hammers of the Year. Right, listen, we've played 7 Premier League games. We've had 1 Europa League time, 1 League Cup time. It's very early days. I'm very aware of that. But if he keeps continuing this trajectory of uptick in form, then he's got a good chance of being in contention. That's why I say in contention for it. And then you've got the problem that happens when you have a player like Souček who's playing on form, and it's not a problem. It's not a bad problem to have. But what does that have or make for the impact of new players? Because you've got a player like Mohamed Kudus, who's playing phenomenally well when he is making his appearance for the club. He bagged a brace against Topola. He came on and made a couple of substitute appearances. He ran ragged around Lincoln City. He came on in the 18 minutes against Sheffield United, and he looked phenomenal. But how is he going to get into the team? Does he get into the team because we have to drop the likes of Antonio from the starting lineup? But I don't see David Moyes dropping Antonio from the starting lineup. You've got players like Ben Rama, who didn't even start at the weekend, who can come on and make an impact. He's not been great, and we all slag off his final third. But essentially, what you've got here is a player that is involved in a lot of goals and a lot of assists. So this is going to fall onto David Moyes' hands of potential big decisions he's got to make moving forward. Big, tough decisions he is going to have to make moving forward for West Ham. And do you know what? It's not a bad situation to be in. And to be honest, when I'm looking at it, I'm calling for players like Kudus to start. But then I don't really know where to fit him in. Are we bringing Antonio out of the game and putting Kudus up top and having that kind of fluctuation of players, switching all over the shop? I don't know what's the best fit. It's not a bad situation to be in, having strength and depth, but real quality strength and depth as well. Put it in your comments and let me know your thoughts, what you think there. Good and tag from Peter Chelmsford. Good and tag Anson. Do I think Augie will start on Thursday? This is a really good question. I really think this is a tough one because, you know what? I always put my hands up and hold my hands up and say I was never a big fan of Ogbonna when he came to the club. Never. I'll always admit I was never a big fan of Ogbonna when he came to the club. I always felt like there was a calamity in him. But laterally in his career, I think he's given West Ham a really good, a good time. He's been really a really strong squad player for us and stepped up to the occasion where he needed to be. Over the last couple of games, I think he's been found out a little bit again, but that's also down to his age and maybe a mixture of the injuries. I mean, I can't believe he bounced back from the injury that he did to be a first team squad regular. I don't know, because I think they've got players that can get at us. And I feel like we maybe need that strong, commanding presence. And with all due respect, Freiburg are definitely different opponents to what Topola were. So I feel like we should be looking at changing that centre-back pairing. But I'm not so sure, because we've got Newcastle coming up at the weekend as well. And can these players withstand that pressure of playing regular game time? It's such a risky position for West Ham to be in. Do you drop Ogbonna for the second game of the Europa League? Is he capable enough to use his knowledge and not to, the mistake against Topola? That's just an error that led to goal. But I looked at some of the performance against Lincoln and I thought he was just slow in the uptake. But who am I? Who am I to make those decisions? Who knows? Tom Budden's in the house. Good to hear from you as well. Thank you for joining us, mate. They are currently 8th, so should be on par game, to be honest. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, they've another interesting fact is that they're unbeaten in the Europa League group games since a 2-0 loss to Sevilla in December of 2013. Albeit they've not played a huge amount of Europa League games, but they still are unbeaten in Europa League group games as well since 2013. But this is the first time that they are going to face an English club in UEFA competitions as well. Starting Ings up top in this one scares the crap out of me. Again, I think this is what's going to make for interesting reading, because what I found interesting was, Danny Ings wasn't one of the first choices to come on and replace, say, Antonio. We've got 2 big games coming up for West Ham. Freiburg, no fans, in a way, you want to try and get something from the game as much as you possibly can. Do I think the same lineup against Topola is capable enough of getting a result at Freiburg? I think on paper they should be. Are they played enough together to think and give me warrant the confidence that they'll do it? Not necessarily. But again, I am a half glass full West Ham fan. So I think we need to mix it up with this game. Some Moyes first teamers and second string. Yeah, I do think that. I definitely do think there's an element that he will have to look at doing that. Definitely. I think Kudus will start. I don't doubt that for a second. Does that mean that he's not in line to start against Newcastle? No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. I just think that Kudus is the sort of player that's an absolute game changer. We saw from the starting lineup against Topola, some of the players that Moyes did put out. So I do think there'll be a strong mix. I think the biggest question for us really focuses around Kudus, Souček, Antonio, and Benrahma. About who potentially plays in this game and who plays at the weekend. Because the thing is, with all the choices we've got, who do you bench? It's as simple as that. It really is going to be a tough one. It really is. Turks 12 Gut says Kudus should replace Antonio. The thing is, Antonio blows so hot and cold at West Ham right now. He does. He can go a couple of games and play absolutely phenomenally well, and then suddenly he struggles to even get involved in the game or touch the ball or whatever. But I always think that he's a threat. I would prefer the long term that Antonio becomes our impact substitution. 20 minutes to go. My word, could you imagine a fully fit Antonio getting at you like that? I can see that being game-changing for West Ham. I can see that being massively game-changing for West Ham. But right now, Moyes definitely falls into that remit of going, Antonio works, so why change a regime that's working for West Ham? It's mad. It's mad. But there's so much. There's so many different variables to consider for this one. Their pitch isn't good, so no doubt we'll pick up an injury or two. We'll hope we don't, Peter. Need to play a stronger team than the Lincoln one. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we played a reasonably strong team against Topola, so a really good mix. Different. I think when you look at the team lineup that we played against Lincoln, and you think of West Ham of last year and what our lineup would have been against the kind of lower opposition, I think our strength and depth is definitely there in abundance now. And it's only fair that these players are going to get as much game time as they possibly can. Rest Bowen and drop Antonio, so Kudus on the right with Mubama up front. I really don't see it. I think a lot of people want it. I just don't see Mubama playing. My concern about the Mubama situation is that he was playing consistent games last year and he's not featuring. And I'm concerned that that's going to have a negative impact on him. Like, I don't know when his last game of actual football was. In a West Ham shirt, and I really think that he needs to get minutes. And I feel like I totally believe in the loan system 100%. Like, I used to be like, I don't loan the player out, have them sitting on the bench. It doesn't benefit a player sitting on the bench at all. Ings is as much use as a chocolate teapot, on my words. Is Mubama injured? It was not in either squads at the weekend. Well, that's interesting because we don't really know what's happened with Mubama. He didn't travel with the squad, obviously, for the Sheffield United game. He wasn't in the under-20, the PL2 team as well. But I just want him to get a little bit more game time under his belt and feel that feeling of consistency of scoring goals, a bit like what Callum Marshall is doing, 12 goals in 9 games in the PL2. That's going to do wonders for him. Whether or not he can make it to the senior level, that is yet to be determined. A draw wouldn't be a bad result. What would you accept? What would you accept? Let us know in the comments below what you would accept for the game against Freiburg. Of course, we would accept to win. All right, Anton and everyone, Adam, good to see you, my friend. Ralph says, once see Kudus start, then either Mubama or Antonio come on. Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of people are calling for that, but whether or not that would happen, I don't know. Remember, they beat Olympiacos in Greece. No easy job. Absolutely. It's a massive result for them. So yeah, it's no mean feat beating Olympiacos, especially on their territory. So I think Freiburg are definitely going to be a team we need to take serious. With all due respect to Topola, like this is a whole new ball game. I believe they finished fifth last year in the Bundesliga. So yeah, we need to be on it definitely on Thursday evening. And like I said, we will be doing loads of match day content for you on the lead up to that game as well. Loads more comments coming in. Let me jump through them. Adam says Freiburg have some quick players. That's why I think Augie shouldn't start. To be honest with you, though, again, with all due respects to Ogbonna, I'm not sure. I think his legs have gone. So I don't think he's got any form of speed in him. So he really judges his game on reading the game from a behind the lines point of view. But that was never his strongest attribute as a player. I always think back to when he first joined the club and he was playing alongside Winston Reid. You used to watch Winston Reid get really frustrated by Ogbonna's positioning. We conceded a lot of goals when they first played together. And there was a lot of calamities coming through the West Ham defence in his early days as a West Ham player. So his positional sense has never been up there. It's never been up there. So he judges the game from a deeper place. But when he plays further forwards, that's definitely a big concern. I always feel like when you've got a Ogbonna type defender, you need a Zuma type defender behind you, like a Dino Mavropanos type player who I think will play the game against Freiburg, and it'll be interesting to see if Ogbonna. I think Ogbonna will play, but the chances, are slimmer than what they were before that he wouldn't as well. Clive says 5 at the back, 5 in midfield, hit them on the break. Absolutely. Damien Damaco says Moyes manages these games in pairs. If Kudus starts tomorrow, I doubt he starts at Newcastle. Yeah, I probably agree. Sorry, on Thursday you're talking about. At times I wish Mickey was as good as his gob. Would be a world beater. Do you know what the thing about Antonio is? It's simple as this, right? If he had the finishing boots on him, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I genuinely think he'd be one of the Premier League's all-time top goal scorers. If you think about, right, all jokes aside, think about the amount of goals he scored in the Premier League in his career. Think about the amount of chances he's fluffed. He is very good at getting into the right place at the right time. He's very good at making the runs. He's very good at getting in behind the defender. He's very good at bossing a defender out the way. He always gets a chance or two every single game. Could you imagine he had the finishing boots of Erling Haaland on him? Honestly, if he just had those finishing touches, honestly, he would go down in history as an all-time. I genuinely believe that. I know it sounds crazy. And you could say that about any player, but I don't really know any player that finds themselves get into the positions that he gets into regularly. Like, he never doesn't. And even when he plays crap, he still finds his chance. He gets a chance. He always gets a chance. So, who knows? Tom says, in fact, we in the group don't have the answer on the starting lineup. How does Freiburg train to play against us? So refreshing, having options and depth, 100%. And that is what we're here for. This is what we've been crying out for such a long time. Strength and depth, really key strength and depth in areas. You've got players like Fabianski, Kira, Mavropanos, Ogbonna, Emerson, Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, Kudus, Paqueta, Benrahma, Ings, just to name a few players. Antonio, Bowen. I mean, players coming out of our ears. Agerd, Zuma, not even mentioned them. Sifao. So yeah, Creswell. I mean, he's obviously picked up the injury, so he probably wouldn't be in there as well. We'd like to see Kudus replace Bowen with a knock and Mubama start instead of Antonio. Also rest Zuma and start Dinos. Absolutely. DJ Leon's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. I need to bring you on. Sorry, mate. I need to come back to you as well. So we'll get you on definitely soon. 100%. I do apologise for that. And I'm down for the Everton game at the end of the month and then the Olympiacos game on November the 9th. That's the next two that I am down for. Would not start Mubama in this one. Too important. Go as strong as possible. I don't see Mubama starting. I think he'll be on the bench. Possibly get a run out near the end of the game, or depends on the result, etc. Mubama last played against Southampton Friday before last for the under 21s. I think Bowen has a knock. Start Kudus on the right. Yeah, I don't think Bowen would start this game anyway. Take a draw, but a win would be perfection. It would be absolutely phenomenal. I think we're capable of doing it on the day. I really do. But if you said to me now, take a draw, I'd probably walk away with that. I probably would walk away with that. Can we get Ogbonna with bionic legs worked from the touchline? Got to give the other 21 players some run, even if it's subs. Let them. Let's give off our normal first team legs some rest. It's a funny one though, James, because there's a balance. We have questionably now got 22 first team senior players without including youth in the equation. So what are you saying? Are you saying don't give those 11 other players a chance to play game? I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying it's a hard, fine line to balance. How do we balance that fine line? I don't know. But you've got League Cup. Like, we are literally saying we want West Ham to go at every competition possible. But the only thing I say is I would like to feed a player through the regime. I would like to at least see. I think there's a place for Mbama. I definitely think there's a place for Mbama to come into the team, not start, but at least come off the bench. But you know, right now it's Danny Ings, and then you've got Kudus who's sitting on the bench. I mean, there's so many options, and it's not a bad situation to be in. This is why we don't get paid the big bucks. It's why David Moyes gets paid the big bucks to make those really tough decisions that none of us want to make. Because I tell you something right now, I would really struggle to make any of these decisions. That Brazilian centre back still not ready. Luazu, no, the young lad. Interesting. I think he's definitely one for the future. I think when we sign these players, we get all hyped up about it, rightly so. But they're probably 5 years away from even remotely making a step up into the West Ham lineup. But we're going to need something to change because we have got an aging central defensive couple of players, in terms of Ogbonna and Zuma. So we're going to have to be looking at that area of the park. We have to look at that area of the park because Ogbonna will be on his way out. And Zuma isn't as old as Ogbonna, but with his injury record, we're going to have to look for the long-term solution in there. 2-1 win, but hard game, but a draw at worst would be a good result. We need to win group, and Mbama needs to get some minutes. He needs it to keep his head up. Hopefully, Antonio will concentrate on football and not spout stuff off in the press and the media. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Hopefully, Luis Soa will replace Ogfather next season. If you have players coming out of your ears, best give up smoking. Absolutely. Love strength and depth, but God, can these players get a better attacking game? I feel like we're wasting a prime opportunity to catch the Premier League by surprise. I tell you what though, James, what we have got is different players in this squad depth that can play different mentality, like different games, different tactical games. Players that can come on. Like when I look at some of our goals this season, they've been fantastic goals. They really, really have. And okay, it's been set piece FC sometimes, and okay, it's been David Moyes' ball. But do you know what? When West Ham went, I'm win. When West Ham went, I'm happy. It's the only way I can explain it. I'm not negative about West Ham winning, no matter what. And yeah, I want to see good football. And sometimes I do see good football. I look at our goals. Look at the goal we scored at Sheffield United at the weekend. The dynamic play between Zuma, Sefao. He finds Alvarez. All one-touch football. Alvarez to Bowen to Souček to Sefao to Bowen, Bosch back in the net. Apparently at the training ground, Antonio is a decent finisher. It's in the games that he isn't. That must be down to confidence, if true. It's got to be down to something, because if he could put that ball into the back of the net, then my word. Anybody else looking forward to useless United losing tonight? As usual. I think if we were to go 2 or 3-0 up with 50 minutes left, Moyes would play the youngsters. He just wants to win every game. Yeah, there's probably an element of truth in there, 100% as well. Anton, do you know how many of the under-21 players are qualified to play in Europe? My understanding is, I put this out on Twitter a while ago, Peter, I'm not sure if you do follow our Twitter account, and it might take me a little while to find it for you, but I did put out all the stats of what players could and couldn't play. It might take me too long to find it because we're very active on our Twitter account. So if you go back, you can actually see all the history of like who qualifies as a homegrown player. So for example, Antonio qualifies as a homegrown player, Bowen, etc., Danny Ings, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got the younger players, which is like a kind of second squad that comes into play. So yeah, I'll try and find it if I can while I'm at it. No, elevate the normal subs to starting 11 and then elevate the youth up to subs for the non-Premier League and non-Europa League matches. This is the problem, though, because you look at the Carabao Cup and there's a genuine, like, we need to throw ourselves at these competitions. And I don't think throwing the youth in from the start in a competition is the best option, to be honest with you, especially with the squad depth that we've got. So, yeah, I think there are opportunities for West Ham to get at a competition. Then we need to go for those competitions with 100% effort. Does Corney get another chance? Do you know what? I'm not dead against the whole Cornet situation. He's featured a little bit over the last couple of games. I'm delighted that he's featured. He's going to give us a new outlet. What I'd love for Cornet to do, really genuinely would be find the back of the net, get that confidence, and use that and bottle that and push forward as a team player. I thought he had an okay game against Lincoln, not a fantastic game, just an okay game. But I think that Cornet is another good option for us to have on the bench, but it'd be nice if he did get something as well. Tom says, if City Arsenal scored that Bowen goal, match of the day would be overrun on Saturday night, mate. 100%. It was a bloody unbelievable goal from West Ham as a whole. 100%. It was great. It was a really, really good goal. I'd play Kudus in the central midfield. He said it's his best position. Just give him a goal. I don't doubt for a second you'll see him start against Freiburg, to be honest with you. It's just a case of the Premier League time. And this is the other argument West Ham have got. We're in the Europa League, right? And we're in the Premier League and we're in all these cup competitions. So we're at the time of the season when all these players are playing. Everyone's getting game time. So what do you want? Would you rather be Fabianski playing in the Premier League or Areola playing in the Europa Conference League last season? You would want to be the Conference League goalkeeper. I don't doubt that for a second. So we've been moaning all season, but the funny thing is, I think if you actually talk to Areola, I think last season he would have been happy to be the main cat in the situation in the Conference League as well. Do I think JWP starts Thursday with Pack or only one of them? I think only one of them will start. I certainly don't think. Yeah, I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be James Ward-Prowse, to be honest with you. Play Paqueta in every game as he could get a ban anytime soon. Maybe feel. I hope he doesn't. I think this is going to go on for a long time, and I think they're probably not going to have enough evidence anyway to do anything with regards to that. But we'll have to see moving forward. Next round of the Carabao Cup, I want the strongest team playing to beat the Gunners, or 41 will be happy. I think there will be an extremely strong team put out there, because this is going to be the first real test in the competition, and we need to be there strong, and I think that will definitely be up there. People moaning about Antonio's finishing, but playing up front for West Ham, it's not all about scoring goals. Some good finishes will be able to do what Antonio does for our team, so stop moaning. There you go. Stop your moaning. Stop your moaning. Thunder spoke out. James, I've just found you folks as an American West Ham fan. I've been having these conversations with myself since 2015 when I started following West Ham. Well, James, welcome to the West Ham Network, mate, and I really appreciate your support and following us. It's really good. I don't know how long, if you've subscribed to the channel, what you can do is you can hit the bell notification. That'll notify you when our shows do go live. We've got loads of match day content as well. We're bringing you loads of commentary, all that sort of stuff. But we really appreciate your support, especially from across the pond. And, you know, there's a really good back catalogue of ex-pros that we have come on the channel and we have a chinwag with. And on that, I'm not going to name any names, but trust me when I say this, we've got some really exciting content coming your way with some ex-pros and people well known in the world of the celebrity world. So exciting players. Trust me on that one. Right, let me see here. Where are we? So here we go. Who asked me the question earlier on about all the young players who can be registered? West Ham have submitted their squad for the Europa League group stage. The regulations required competing clubs must submit their list A of senior players. List A is comprised of no more than 25 players, including a minimum of 8 locally trained players who have spent a minimum of 36 months between the ages of 15 and 21 registered with a club affiliated with the FA. 4 of those 8 must be club trained, meaning they have been registered with West Ham for a minimum of 36 months between the ages of 15 and 21. Between 15 and 21. The other 4 are association trained, which means they have registered with any other clubs affiliated with the FA. Additionally, the club submitted the list B, which comprised of players born on or after the 1st of January 2002 and since their 15th birthday, which have been registered with West Ham for at least 24 months. And amongst those on list B are Divine Mabama, who's part of West Ham's obviously conference winning league squad. Should West Ham progress to the knockout stages in early 2024, the club may register a maximum of 3 new eligible players for the remaining matches up into including the final. So there you go on that information. But back to you, James. Thank you very much for all the support as well. Welcome to the Madhouse, James. Hello, James. Welcome, mate. Richard says our biggest test to come is Premier League's up against Newcastle and Villa. Well, I'll tell you what, last season everyone wanted to be Brighton. This season everyone wanted to be Aston Villa. Why does nobody want to be West Ham? Well, I'm glad. Let us go under the radar. We'll go ahead and win all the competitions. Happy bloody do. Happy da, whatever you want to call it. James, what made you choose us? Good question. What made you choose us? Richard agreeing, Everton too interesting times. Thunder and Joy, much appreciated, my man. Really, really appreciated. Welcome, James. We have loads of American subscribers. We do. Richard, he's wearing a Longhorns hat. I don't know if it's true, but I think I heard Villa have won 13 league games at home in a row. Well, I tell you what, upstep West Ham and we'll close that down. And also with Newcastle at the weekend, they are missing 5 key players. 5 key players for that game against West Ham at the weekend. Anyway, I am going to be heading for this afternoon. There is your West Ham Daily for today. Big decisions coming ahead for David Moyes. Loads of decisions he needs to make. He's got an abundance of players, all playing on form, all wanting to start every single game that we're playing. Europa League, Premier League games. There's games coming every couple of days, apart from the international break. What does he do? What do you do for the game against Freiburg? What do you do? What does he do for the game against Newcastle? Kudus, Souček, Benrahma, Antonio, all the names up for grabs for trying to push for a start in a West Ham shirt. It's not a bad place to be for West Ham strength and depth. It really is not. Anyway, I appreciate all your support. I am going to let you all say goodbye to each other before I do go, because normally I would stay on for 45 minutes, but I do need to go back to work. I really, really, really do need to go back to work. So just thought I'd come on live. Join me later on for the Hammers headlines. That'll be out a little bit earlier than 5 o'clock with our good friends over at Knees Up Mother Brown. And yes, I appreciate all your support. Take it easy. And of course, come on, your ends.